Did God really create the world in 6 days? This is a question that has preoccupied the minds and pens of theologians and really popular culture going back many centuries. Hi, I'm Dr. Stephen Smith of Mount St. Mary's Seminary, and one of the reasons I wrote my new book, The House of the Lord, is to try to help us understand how to appropriate Genesis 1, 2, and 3 today. And in fact, one of the major principles in the book, The House of the Lord, is that we need to go back and look at Genesis 1, 2, and 3 with a proper theological lens and a proper understanding of what's going on in those chapters. And I draw upon a tremendous amount of resources and bring those to the biblical text, from Joseph Ratzinger to the early church fathers, to Thomas Aquinas, to some Protestant theologians, to Jean Cardinal Donnelly, and even J.R.R. Tolkien, among others. Louis Boyer, the great early 20th century Protestant who became a Roman Catholic theologian. So we're bringing together a tremendous amount of wisdom to try to understand what's going on in Genesis 1, 2, and 3. And one of the things you'll discover when you read The House of the Lord is that Genesis really requires a certain degree of what I would call biblical intelligence. We need to know exactly what the author is and is not trying to communicate. So I'm going to talk about something called form and content, and how we need to understand how those two things work together. And when we have a proper understanding of form and content, we can get beyond these caricatures of Genesis that sometimes people have. Very briefly, by form, what I mean is the literary genre or the style or manner in which the human author, aided by the divine author of course, presents his particular message in any given biblical book. Right? And so there's a particular form that Jesus uses called parables when he's teaching. There's a certain kind of expectation that we have and that ancient readers would have had when they read the story of the prodigal son. But a parable is different than a miracle, and a miracle is different than an oracle, and an oracle is different than, we can go on, right? You see the point. And so often biblical authors give us clues as to what they're trying to say in terms of how they structure or shape their text. And the text of Genesis has a number of clues which reveal how we're to understand it in a kind of mythopoetic way. Now, I know the word myth sometimes gets thrown around with Genesis, and this can get people very uncomfortable. But by myth, I don't mean something that's make-believe. I mean something that is real. In fact, so real that it takes a vivid, theological, rich, symbolic, and in fact poetic language for the human author to convey precisely what he wants to convey. And that is that the one true living God created the universe and placed in the very center of it the man and the woman in a, you guessed it, temple-like setting. And so this takes us more deeply into the beginning of the book. From there, we talk about the high priestly identity of Adam, right? What's he doing? Does he just have a green thumb? Why is he tilling the garden? Well, I've got news for you. He's not a gardener. He's a priest. And we're going to talk about priesthood and really recover a true identity of priesthood in the Old Testament, and then we move on from there. And so this is the starting point of the book. There's much more that I want to share with you, obviously, than I can say here. So I want to invite you to check out The House of the Lord. It's on Amazon.com this summer, 2017. The full title is The House of the Lord, a Catholic Biblical Theology of God's Temple Presence in the Old and New Testaments. I'm the author, Dr. Stephen Smith, and I want to invite you to check it out. God bless you.